LGBTQ activists, like Lynn that we have here, about this event. It's really interesting. A lot of forces do not want us to do something like this, and we will be discussing some of those reasons later. We aptly titled this webinar "One Woman versus the World," but this is going to be a happy event and hopefully helpful. While there are numerous disputed accounts on the flag's origin, one thing is not disputed, and that is it came to fruition at the Gay Freedom Day Parade on June 25th in 1979.
78. 78.
Oh, 78. Yes, you are right. There we go. So we're not going to focus on, when someone says they're the true creator of the rainbow flag, we have to be hesitant of that because rainbow flags can be traced to at least the 15th century. German theologian Thomas Müntzer used the rainbow flag for his reformist preaching. In the 18th century, the English-American revolutionary and author Thomas Paine advocated for adopting the rainbow flag as a universal symbol for identifying neutral ships at sea. Rainbow flags have been flown by Buddhists in Sri Lanka in the 19th century as a unifying emblem of their faith. They also represent the Peruvian city of Cusco and are flown by Indians on January 31st to commemorate the passing of their spiritual leader, Mayor Baba. And since 1961, they have represented members of international peace movements. Lee Mentley, a gay activist and facilitator of the flag as it relates to LGBTQ people, said, "One day in 1978, Lynn came to 330 Grove, the local gay center, with a couple of her friends, James McNamara and others, and said we should make a rainbow flag for Gay Day to brighten up San Francisco City Hall in San Francisco. It's all cold and gray in June. We thought it sounded like a great idea." Courtesy of Harvey Milk, the Pride Planning Committee was able to get $1,000 from leftover housing work funds. So to go into it, Lynn, let's cater this around you. What do you want to accomplish with this webinar?
I'd like to correct some of the lies, or attempt to, some of the lies that happened over these years. And some people are just telling a fictitious story over and over, and they believe it. I get it. That's what they believe it, but that doesn't make it true. And I was there. I was actually renting a room at the 330 Grove. I rented a room to do my dyeing in. I dyed professionally for money, and I also rented that space. Lee arranged it. It was very inexpensive. Yes, we were lacking a hot water heater and no washer dryer, but I made do with my dyes, and I also sewed too, and made things to sell. So I was already there.
Yeah. Before we take it back a little further in that, when did you realize the rainbow flag would become an enduring symbol for an expanding community?
When we made them, I loved the rainbow, and I've loved it for years. I tie-dyed when I was a child. I was 14, 15, 16 when I started experiencing dyes and fabric and experimenting. And so high school, junior high, that's when I started working. And then as I came to San Francisco, I got the name of Faerie Argyle Rainbow through friends, and also because I used to wear a lot of rainbows and I was into the rainbow, and I had researched Edgar Casey's writings about color and color therapy and stuff in high school. And so I ended up being Faerie Argyle Rainbow.
You were, a child in some ways. You were 19 years old when you got the name Rainbow Faerie Argyle.
Yes.
How did that name come to you?
Well, I joined up with a children's theater company called the Moment Museum, Bethany, the Princess of Argyle. And so she didn't like the name Lynn, and so she said, I'm going to name you Faerie. Like, fairies in the forest flying around with wings and stuff. And it was kids' theater. It was very rustic, but kids loved it. And then I ended up making costumes for people in that theater and some props and dancing in the background. And I, you know, everything was rainbow because that's what I was doing over and over, making things rainbow. And then we had a friend called Rainbow Stars. Um, his last name's really Shields, but Star was related to his a brother who was a famous mime. Anyway, he made an egg for this children's show at this egg, and it was supposed to be magical, and he painted it all rainbows. So we were doing that. Actually, God, I started making rainbow clothes when I was 15. I made this dress to wear to a wedding, this antique cotton dress, and it was rainbowed and batiqued and tie-dyed. And I would be 15. Mhm.
And where were you when you were 15?
I was in Palma Valley, which is North County, San Diego, near where avocados are grown. Fallbrook avocado land, and Palma Valley was very sparsely populated. And so I started experimenting. We had a washer and dryer and some got stuff, and I just started making things and trial and error, really.
When you went to the Bay Area, did you go by yourself or you moved with your family?
No, I went by myself.
And were you
My
ever,
mom didn't want me to go.
what did they think? How'd you get involved with the theater world? Were they aware at all?
Uh, you know what it was? The very first Castro Street Fair, it was just by word of mouth. Nobody paid money for their booth or anything. We just word of mouth on a Sunday, we're going to do this. We all showed up. And Jane and I came in all our rainbow clothes because that's what we were doing, my best friend Jane, for money. We came all dressed and we dressed our two friends, Howard and Stephanie, in all rainbows. And so we were at the fair all day in our rainbows, and then we kept seeing this lady with Lee Mitley, and it was Bethany Argyle. We kept seeing her all day, and it was just like, who is that? Who is that? So by the end of the day, we ended up just getting together and meeting them, and then Lee had his apartment right there. We went upstairs. He pulled out fabric. She found out that we could make costumes, and she was doing a show for the kids at the museum on Venice for children, a children's show. So we said, we'll make you a costume. And that's how it started.
Did people, these days, if you met someone who's named Rainbow Fairy Argyle, you might like roll your eyes a little bit.
Of course you would.
But can you just set the scene of the time? How you could be a serious dyer for a famous fashion designer.
I did that. And it didn't matter. People kind of looked at your artwork, and lots of people changed their name. They didn't want to be Joe Smith. They wanted to be, you know, I don't know, Rainbow Stars or something. Or lots of people changed their name. And I did have a driver's license that said Faerie Argyle Rainbow on it.
And how long did you have that driver's license for?
Oh gosh, I want to say 10 years, but I'm approximating. And no, I don't have it anymore. It's missing.
How did you change when you became Rainbow Fairy Argyle?
I think it was a kind of a natural progression because I had experimented with paints and stuff. And so now I was just going into fabric. And I also had already learned how to sew. I wasn't great, but the more you sew, the better you get. So that's high school. And so some of the experiments came out well. And I just started doing it just for me and my friends, just having, fun making stuff. And it just turned into a job for me,
Are,
living.
are parts of you still Fairy Argyle Rainbow?
Oh, yeah. but it's not practical in this world now, to go around, oh, I'm Faerie, Argyle Rainbow, how are you? Not too practical.
I think something that we should do to set the scene as well. So you became involved with the Angels of Light theater troupe,
Mhm.
which was an offshoot of the Coquettes, the hippie gender bending
Uh-huh.
performance bearded drag queen troupe as well. But the Angels of Light maintained kind of a different group mantra. They started as free theater, the communal aspect as well. Can you talk about the Angels a little bit?
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, somehow I was walking up into the Haight Ashbury area, and this guy on the street started talking to me, Robert Bergman, and his nickname was Indian because he was part American Indian. And we're just going up into the Haight, walking up that hill. There are other people with us too, I don't even know, but he started telling me about the Angels of Light and how I should come see the show. And we did. Uh, we did come see the show. I think it was Jane and I came. Oh yeah, and it was also at a really nice theater on Van Ness. That it was a Paris show. It was the French show. Paris sights under the bourgeoisie, and it was lots of fun. And we'd never seen anything like that before. So I was living in the country by Reno on an apple orchard farm, and my girlfriend and I, she decided to stay with that group for a while, and I decided to come to Marin County and San Francisco.
What was the group mentality? What brought all of you, all of the Angels together?
Boy, there was a lot of talent. Gosh, yeah. Some of them were just natural comedians, like Ralph and a lot of other people, and then some were really talented with making props and sets and masks, and like Tony, and if you were interested in learning those things, you could do it. It wasn't closed. It wasn't like, oh no, I'm only doing this. And you could learn that. And there was all the music, which I love. And we had all these dance classes that we'd go to the studio and learn different dance styles and rehearse and practice. And then one of those numbers or two would be in the next show. And then we had communal living. When I was working with the Angels, I just lived at Fell and Central on the right near the Golden Gate Park. And it was just Wendell, Francine, and I. Francine and I were in the Angels of Light, and Wendell was sort of a on the side, you know, but a fan. It was just three of us in that. But there was Divisadero Street had a lot of people living there, and then there was Page Street, and I'm sure there was other ones. I can't think of it, but
Were the Angels charging for shows at this time?
no, they were not.
So how are you surviving?
See, I was lucky in that fortunate that I had already dye clients and sewing. I had that going on. So I continued because I was not on welfare, and I like to, make a living. I've really pretty much never stopped with that, but making a living. And later on, they put donation box. You can donate if you want, but you don't have to. Still come for free. And that was the only change. And then there was also this thing of when you do something good for the theater, it's not really yours. It's the whole group gets credit, but don't, you're not really like trying to take all this credit for what you did. It's a group effort. It's a commune. We all paid for the rent of the studio on Valencia Street. We had a dance and work studio, meetings. Oh boy, and that was first it had started in Divisadero, and then that was on Valencia Street. We all paid a piece of the rent to keep that place going. Hmm.
Your shows were wildly successful and jam-packed, and you played at Lone Mountain in San Francisco, which is now part of USF, to large crowds. Did you think this was sustainable, or were you just so wrapped up in this communal aspect and identity?
I don't think I thought about whether it was sustainable or not. I had also been in Cyclones, which was a sci-fi show, the one before, where Janice wrote part of the script or all of it, I'm not sure. And then Holy Cow was Adrian and the guy from Berkeley, Kevin, a Shakespearean actor from Berkeley, and Adrian and maybe somebody else wrote that. And then before, I also worked on a small show at the studio in Valencia. We put on little productions just for one night. And that was like sort of a variety show. And it's a lot of fun. And you know, you're experimenting. So uh, it's, some people could sing, some people were just super funny, some people were just gorgeous. You know, it wasn't all one thing.
Who this is.
Hi, Buck.
Bye, Buck. But you were also doing their costumes as well, right?
I did. I did. Other people were too. There was some super talented sewers, costume designers. I mean, wow. You know, super talented people. But I did do the Clone Sisters. There were three of us Clone Sisters. That was for the sci-fi show. And those costumes were my design. And then we were in the living room where I lived, and we were taking things apart and cutting and clipping and sewing. And those headdresses, each of our headdress was different. One was a square on our top of our head, one had a triangle on the top of their head, and one had a sphere for the three clone sisters. And we, those are my designs. I did, I think it was Tony and the Scholastic stuff that we made, how we made those. Um, Tony, who makes really great masks and is super funny.
So you were involved with 330 Grove, where the rainbow flag was
Great.
made. And then how did you go from being there to let's make a rainbow flag for Pride?
Oh, well, it wasn't even called Pride back then. It was just gay freedom, you know. And that 1978 was only the second year that there was a parade in San Francisco. So that was kind of a really big deal. And then Lee was like, you want to decorate, we're going to march all the way to the Civic Center, City Hall. And they said we could use the flagpoles on the reflecting pole. There were a bunch of littler ones, smaller. And then the two at UN Plaza were really big. So that's right, you know, you kind of go like that, and there you are. And so there's all these flagpoles, and we can make flags. And so we did go down and take a look, and it was very exciting to be doing that. But we didn't know what we're going to do. So we were going to have this meeting with Lee and Celeste, parade committee at 330 Grove. One other guy, I don't know his name. And then the three of us were supposed to show up, James, Gilbert, and I. And on the morning that we were supposed to show up there with our designs, you know, our ideas, those two didn't show up. They didn't come. I don't know why. They didn't say. We don't have cell phones back then. They just didn't show up, but I did show up, and I did have ideas, and that was rainbow flag.
And who was James McNamara and Gilbert Baker?
Gilbert was my roommate at the time, and we had a two-bedroom flat on Upper Market, and I met him through being at the Castro Street Fair, and we had a mutual friend, Paul Langlotz, and they were James McNamara, Gilbert Baker, Paul Langlotz. They were all roommates, and so that's how I met them initially. James McNamara was a super talented guy, boy, and I had this big crush on him. He's just such a sweetie. And he had gone to some clothing design school. I'm not sure exactly which one, but he had all that skills of patterning and like fine tailoring and all that. He was already very good. And then I had all the dye skills because the thing was there would be hand dyed cotton, you know, not polyester. And then Gilbert had sewing skills. James had taught Gilbert how to sew. That was, and they also were roommates. So it was all connected. And then I needed a place where I could have water and make big buckets and all that, make a mess for dyeing. And Lee, who we met at the first Castro Street Fair. And so he said, we have a room. It's not, nobody uses it. We can rent it to you really cheap. So I said, yes. And then somehow we all just showed, we got, it's all word of mouth because the only thing kind of phone we had back then was a landline. And I'll say that sometimes I didn't have a landline, there's no phone. And sometimes we did. And so people just go, see you tomorrow, Cafe Flore at 10 a.m. and we figure it out. And then we just go there. And so that is, we did have the meeting with Celeste, Leroy, and some other person. And I was there. And then I just wondered why they didn't come. Those two.
So taking it back, I mean, so is it safe to assume that maybe you were the one who kind of, I mean, you were the rainbow artist. Do you think the idea for rainbows amongst the core group would have happened without you? That's a really loaded question.
Okay, I'll just say what I think. Gilbert's favorite color was white. He was sewing like kind of toga outfits out of white. He liked really white, flowy things. And there was later an opportunity. I said, "Come on, you can dye with me. I'll show you how." He's like, "Oh no, I don't want to get my hands dirty," you know. And but he could sew. And then James was multi-talented. He did all that photography and much more photography too, of San Francisco and the flags and all. He made fashion. He was making outfits to like sell in the future, fashion outfits. And we were his models a couple of times. And he did photography and he was an excellent sewer. Mm. And I had made flags one time before that for money for a sailboat club out of Sausalito. They were just small ones that you hang off the back of your boat. It's a triangle and it was white letters on a green background. And I went to the flag company south of Market to, was that American flag? I think so. Find out how do I sew this, and I get the materials to make the flags for that sailboat company, and they came out good. It was different, and so I already had that. I go, oh, I know where we could shop for the materials. I know where to buy all the dye, where to look for fabric. We could do this, and it could be like all from scratch.
When you presented the idea, was it an instant yes from everyone?
The Celeste and Lee, I believe they really loved it. And then later the other two embraced it, shortly, maybe that same day. I forgot if they never said where they were. I don't know. But what does it matter? So it was us three. And yes, there were volunteers helping us, and nobody got paid. Nobody. It's not that kind of a job. Okay. It's because you want to do it, kind of thing. You have passion to do this. And but it wasn't like millions of people. Glenn McHenry, she was my best helper upstairs on the roof with putting the dye, running the fabric through and through these large trash cans of dye, and then rinsing by hand. There was no washer up there, washer dryer. And so once it was rinsed enough, we'd put it in plastic bags and run down the street to the laundromat and then wash it and dry it, and then bring it back. And we had to iron it all after that. That's sort of kind of a pain. But and then we started it. On the day we went to buy supplies, Lee went with us the whole way and wrote checks at every place. And that money came from the hotel tax fund, San Francisco Hotel Tax Fund, sorry, the tax fund. That's where the money came from. It wasn't a lot of money. And Harvey Milk had nothing to do with saying, oh, why don't you guys make rainbow flags? that is totally a fallacy. Um, I did see him there once. I believe I met him there ever so briefly. He's really busy, and what a schedule. And thank God he did. He was there, and he was an instigator, and he's in the government. So uh, I'm just glad that he was there. But he wasn't saying, "Oh, we're gonna want you to make flags, and I want you to make rainbow flags." That's not true. Okay. Um, Whoever decided that we could use the flagpoles at the plaza, who was that? I don't know, but it was just like suggested. Do you want to use these flagpoles? You could. And you're like, wow. And there were smaller flags too. For the left reflecting pole, we sewed white flags, white cotton muslin, and then we put them a grommet, and then we gave them to about, I figure there was like 8 or 10 artists that were hanging around in the gay community center. And it's like, okay, here's your flag, do whatever. You could tie it, you could paint it, whatever you like, but just we need it back by this time, okay? And so everybody's smaller flag was different. All I did was help sew those up. And I gave a tie-dye class. And but they don't, there's 2 of those small flags, beautiful, in the one archives, and the rest of them were stolen that very day. People were, since those flagpoles didn't lock with a crank and a key, they just undid them and then took the flags and ran off. That's what happened to those, with the exception of 2. Mhm.
You talked about passion. Where did your passion come from for this project?
Um, because I loved fabric and colors, and then the thought of doing flags and how they would look, flying colorful, maybe rainbow flags. And the 2 plaza, UN Plaza flags poles were 80 feet tall. That's pretty big. And so those were really a like monster to work on. Hmm. And then it'd be 40 feet by 60 feet on an 80-foot flagpole. And when they were done, and we test flew them the day before of the parade, it takes 3 people to carry that flag, in and out of the truck, and then bring it to the pole. And then we have to attach it with this wire stuff to the rigging, and then crank it, have the key and crank it up. And that's what we did. It was a really big project. And there were other sewers. I just don't know who, but we had all brought, the 3 of us had brought our sewing machines, irons, ironing board, all that, sewing threads, and etc. And then after we just started, it was obvious that I should just stay with the dye pots and just do it as fast and as most as we can, because we had so much fabric, 1,000 yards of cotton muslin.
How long did you work on this? Like, do you work on this every day? Do you take a day
Oh,
off?
every day, every day. Otherwise, it's not going to get done in time. Because I think we only had like 6 weeks to get this together. I believe that's what we figured out. That is not really a lot of time to make some things and multiple things, and they're big. And there's a lot of sewing, really a lot of sewing.
Can you walk us through the process of making a flag? Step 1, step 2, step 3.
Uh, yes. So if it's, you're doing hand dyed fabric, you got to get the fabric and dye it. There's all those supplies, and you need hot and cold running water, and you need a washer and dryer. And we did big trash cans on the rooftop of 330 Grove. And to get hot water, because you need hot and cold water for dyeing, we'd heat pans of water up on the 2nd floor. There was a stove, and then carry them up to the 3rd floor and go up this giant stair ladder to the top of the roof and dump that in the trash can. And we do that over and over all day. The hot water, the cold water, we got out of a fire spigot, a fireman's spigot up on the rooftop there. and there was a giant drain too. So you combine the hot and the cold water, salt, dye, soda ash, and it's got to be stirred a lot. And it's just like if you had giant cotton sheets and you washed them by hand all day and for hours, and then you rinsed them all day, and then you took them to the laundromat. That's pretty much. But the thing was, no hot water until you heat it in a pan.
How did you have to improvise?
That was it. That was improvising. The stove on the second floor in my little room, heating up canning pots full of water, and then people were carrying them upstairs, throw it in the trash can, come back down, do another pot, and then we're adding cold water, we're adding dyes and salts. I'm mixing up these giant batches of dye and the salt, and then later it's the soda ash, and you have to keep the fabric moving. You got to keep it moving. So it takes a lot of time and effort.
Were you sleeping at 330 Grove during this time?
Was I sleeping there?
Yeah.
I did sleep there a couple of times, yes. In between apartments, I did sleep at 330 Grove up in the top floor gallery. But I have to say that was pretty scary at night because that place is so haunted. Just the Black Panthers used to meet in the basement of that building before it was 330 Grove. Yeah, and I don't know what else, but it was pretty scary at night, and the phones would ring, and I made the mistake of answering the phone, and that was not good. I got really scared.
What the person on the other line say?
It was like it was like a horror movie, and so whoever it was, I don't know who, but I just like got my keys and ran out of there. I had keys to the 330 Grove, and I guess I rang the doorbell of my friend that lives a few blocks away and said, "Can I sleep at your house tonight?"
Were you nervous during this time? You were a time crunch and there was a tremendous amount of material you had to get.
I was hoping we could get it done on time. I really wasn't sure. It really wasn't, but we have to. We've, you know, so to say we were there every day, that's true.
And for the execution of it all, where it was James McNamara, Gilbert Baker, and you as the core three.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, there's the traditional flag that we know, and then the one that became Lynn's flag, the
Uh-huh.
new
With the
American flag, which
with
y'all can see
stars.
there with the stars and stripes. So how did the idea, you had two flagpoles, so I guess the idea for two came together. But
Yes.
how about the new American flag?
Yes. Well, like of course we all agreed this rainbow flag would look really good. And then that was an 8-colored rainbow flag out of cotton. And then for the second one, I want to make it different. So I flipped it. The color order was flipped, like as if you take a pancake and go like that. So the pink on one is down here and the violet's up here, and then on the other one, violet's down here and pink's up here. And then one of them, I always loved the American flag, so I wanted to do stars in the corner. And I had to make wood blocks, star wood blocks, and glue and varnish, and then C clamps. And you have to get the white fabric and fold it in certain ways. And then sort of like making a big sandwich. Your wood blocks, your stars are the bread, and the fabric in the middle is the meat. And you clunk it all together, make it as tight as you can, and then you dunk it in the blue dye bath for a while. And then I wasn't sure it was gonna make if it would work. I knew the wood blocks worked because I was already working with wood blocks for my personal dyes that I sold. But with this work, would that folding thing work? I really didn't know. And so it turns out that it worked. I was so happy. And then so we sewed that in the corner. It really wasn't long enough. It should have been a little longer, but and then in the aqua stripe, I had some silver lame and gold lame from the Angels of Light show costumes I made. So I put silver lame on one side of the flag, a star applique, I have silver, and on the other side of the flag, it was gold lame, like that, just for, a whim, and just to look good.
Did you phrase it as I'm gonna take the initiative on this flag? So you were the rainbow artist in general, but did you say I want to do this one by myself, or was this
Um,
the core group helping you?
um, to be honest, the both of the rainbow flags, they're my design, but I wanted them to be different. I don't want to make two the same. So it was like you think in your imagination, okay, we've got that one. It looks really good. Just plain stripes. What can we do with the other one? I just thought about American flag. That might look good. And but as far as making it, there were not the three of us and then volunteers, but it wasn't like 50 volunteers. There's a few certain people that show up every day. Some people would just show up one day to help rinse or go to the laundromat or help iron or sew if they could, you know. It wasn't like 50 people. It, just like the parade committee, there was the guys and ladies that were working to put the parade together. There was three people to get all the permits and all that stuff. There were three people.
Were you involved with the permitting process at all, or just
Oh no, God. We were trying to dye some fabric and sew it together.
why do you think the community came together for this, idea that could have been a hit, was just pretty to some people, that kind of thing?
I think, I don't know, there was like excitement, and we never made big flags before. We never had flags at there's only the second Gay Freedom Day parade. And there was just an energy, and some people just came to the community center every day to hang out and see what's doing and just be around other people like them. And then some of those people would help us. Glenn McHenry, Celeste did help. And as far as the names of the other people, I can't tell you. I do remember some faces, and then Gilbert, James, and I were working. It was a good place to hang out.
Yeah, I hear some background noise. Okay. So let's go to the big day. So so you have these flags done, you're walking them to Civic Center, or did someone else walk them over?
Oh no. The day before we piled them in a truck or a van. I think Glenn arranged that. And we had several people. I don't know all their names at all. Because really, they're so heavy that it takes three people to carry one folded up flag. And we had the crank and the key to the big flagpoles. We had to see if they're going to work because we really weren't sure. So that's the day before. We brought those there. There were about, I think, six of us trying to do this. And then you clip it, and you have this plastic coated wire, heavy duty stuff, and it has to go like that through the grommets, sort of like a fishing line or something. And then when you got all that, it has to be clamped on each end. It has to be clamped at the right spot so it won't be buckled, buckly. And then you got that, and then put the key in and turn that crank. Very heavy. And then we got one, and then we did the other one, and it looked great. It was like almost a surprise, oh, it actually worked. It actually works. Because when you haven't done it before, you're just going, I think this right. You don't know.
Were you in awe when you looked at them for the first
Oh, I
time?
was so happy. I was just so happy. We were just like, oh. And then we came the next day and we did it for the parade.
And were people talking about it?
I think people were really excited, actually. It was just so pretty. It was unusual going down Market Street, and then there's these giant flagpoles with giant rainbow flags on them. And then you head over to the Civic Center, and those are smaller flags and just as beautiful. on the smaller reflecting pole, flag poles. That pole's not there anymore, but it used to be. And God, it was just looked beautiful.
And so then that was those 2 days were done and you're back
Hmm.
to reality. So you went back to the Angels of Light and got involved with more performances.
Probably, but I probably came back to the community center and cleaned up because we made quite a mess. You
Mhm.
know, clean, probably that. And then the flags were stored in the top floor gallery on pedestals, all folded up. Just like upstairs in the gallery, folded up on two pedestals.
And did you think I'm going to bring these back to my house or?
Oh no, that's not what they're made for. Are you kidding? Do you really have an 80-foot flagpole at home and you think this is yours? Like, oh, this is my flag. No, that would be ridiculous. It was for the community. It was for the parade. It was for, as I said, think it's only the second year there's a parade. It's not really, um, it's not funded. It's not funded yet. It's a lot of people have made an effort to show up, and they have a lot of placards they're holding up, and there might be one person with like a lavender flag, and there really wasn't a lot of flags at all that that parade. And there were straight people marching in that parade too. These Straights for Gays were marching in that.
And
So it's not polished. It's, a community, and hey, we're going to do this the second time.
then were you in San Francisco in 1979 for the last time the flags were flown?
But I was.
And was it just a group idea? We have to get these flags back up. They were so magnificent. Or are you not involved in that point?
No, sometime between 78 and 79, somebody stole the flags. They disappeared. Someone stole them out of the top floor gallery, and they were missing for a while. I don't know the exact month or anything. And I had to go back to making a living, was completely broke. Just like at the end of an Angels of Light show at the end of the run, you're elated, but you're completely broke because you haven't been working because you've been at the theater and all. And so you have to go back. I did anyway, go back to work and get some money because literally you don't have any money for food or rent. It's that much broke.
Something that's, well, we could skip that. So when did you move to Japan?
Um, it was somewhere in this, I'd say 79, 79 and 80.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And you just had enough with the free theater and just wanted to.
No, I was just completely broke. I didn't have a penny. So there's an opportunity. Esmeralda, who sang with the Angels of Light Theater, she was a really terrific performer. She told me about this, and go talk to this guy, and um, oh, he lived in LA in Van Nuys, and I was in San Francisco, but somehow we talked on the phone and sent probably faxes back and forth. I don't even. And it was an opportunity to go work in Japan as a dancer and also to teach English, you know, teach English to Japanese people, which I did. And I had a roommate from America, a guy who's an opera singer and plays piano very well. And he was doing a lot of show tunes for the entertainment because nobody there really was into opera. But Steve and we were good friends. We got along well. And when I had my Japanese student come over, he would be there at the apartment. We shared a 2-bedroom flat, and I was so glad of that he was there. But I really had so little patience for people that they really don't know how to speak or English or have studied, not really, and you have to teach them like really rudimentary ABC. And I had so little patience, and I was only 23, and I after a few lessons, I was like, I don't want to teach these people anymore. It's just, it's
How long were you there for?
off and on for 2 years. Hmm.
And then had the rainbow flags become a mass symbol by the time you got back?
I don't know if it was a mass symbol, but they were back. They showed up. I mean, they got stolen and you didn't see them for a little while. I don't know how many months that was, but that was heartbreaking. I didn't want to talk about when I found out they got stolen. And then I came back, and then, oh, they're back. And now they're polyester and 6 colors, but they look great. But that's not the original design.
And then did you land back? You went to the back to the Bay Area?
Hmm.
And did people have rainbow flags like you see them now hanging around, or not quite?
I don't think so yet. I really don't.
And when did you when did they start to become everywhere?
That's Gilbert. He really, really promoted. So you'd have to ask him. Um, I don't know. It was great that he promoted and propagated and made more flags. Even, they're polyester, I know. Except being in the fashion industry, fabric was really important to us. Like, is it cotton? Is it silk? What is it? We're
Hmm.
making really nice clothes. And as soon as I came back from Japan, my designer friend that I worked for, she was one of the best designers in San Francisco, Leah Ditson. She picked me up at the airport, brought me to her house. She had stored all my stuff at her basement, and I started working for her like right away. Like I had a job when I came back, thank God.
But
So when did they start hanging them around? You have to ask Gilbert that.
we can't ask him because he's dead, but we can some people are asking for some clarifications during timelines. So the flags took about 6 weeks in June
Maybe
of
7,
78.
6.
And to give some fact checking context, Gilbert Baker, for whom the Gilbert Baker Foundation is named after, has really pounded the pavement to make sure the rainbow flags became the enduring symbol you see at
Hmm.
Chase Bank in LA when it's Pride Month and just everywhere they are. But there's major discrepancies in the story. He says that the flags were stolen off of the Gay Community Center where they flown in 1979, the second time they were flown. However, there's photos of them in the Chronicle being shown flying at Civic Center. So
Hmm.
there are some discrepancies along.
Hmm.
I think one that we should emphasize is he assigned meanings to the rainbow flag. What did you think when you heard that?
I mean, the color thing, red means this and blue means that. That's what is in his head. He's just going by what he thinks. But I never said any of that. It's a rainbow. When you just think you see a rainbow in person, in the air, in the sunlight, or however, it's very uplifting. And the colors are so pure. I just love it when I see that. So that's what the colors mean. Make it up for yourself. Which ones, how do you like them? What do they mean? And then all together, it's a rainbow. Make it up for yourself. But he wanted to, I guess, make a like red is this, purple is that, yellow is this. Fine, you want to make that up, great. But like you said before, like the ancient Aztecs had a rainbow flag for their symbol, and all those other people. What did they say about what the rainbow means? I don't know. What did they say? I think it means joy, and I think it's, to me, all the colors includes everybody. What color you are doesn't matter. It's a rainbow, and it also means straight people, gay people, and other people don't know what they are, whatever. What does it matter? You're in a rainbow. You are part of it. Just not like we're not going to segregate this. It's just like, oh, almost pretty much everybody loves a rainbow. And that I had for many years. And
The more that the two of us collaborate and that, the nonprofit and I put out It's interesting watching Wikipedia change.
Oh,
There's
good.
two things though that always strike me is that it says growing up, Gilbert Baker was always a big fan of the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland, and that he named you as well.
Everyone likes that song, and maybe it was his favorite, you know, but he did not name me, and I like that song too. He never named me. Bethany was the namer, the person who named me Faerie. And then Argyle, she was called the Princess of Argyle in her theater company to tell stories to kids and put on little presentations. She was Bethany, the Princess of Argyle. She came up with that. And I just liked, oh, that would be a nice name. And then Rainbow, I love rainbows. So why not have that as the third, your last name?
I'm
That was about the year 1975.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By no means do I want to call Gilbert Baker a liar or anything like that, but there are inconsistencies in his stories that are factually incorrect. And while that happens with many people's recollections, it's important to correct those when we have proof otherwise. But
Mhm.
it seems like his version of events kind of have snowballed and snowballed and snowballed to the point where people are writing mean things to me about this. And consequently, it's also the one of the most read and republished articles I've done. But can you kind of talk about that snowball effect on your life? Or was it too long ago and you're like, I don't care?
Of the Gilbert claiming that he did it all, that he designed them and made them and everything, or um, I know I was always working. I worked with the designer Leah Ditson again for over 10 years doing fabrics for her clothing line. And I worked for Derek May, who was another nice designer, and other. And I never really stopped working. And so I'd hear stuff. My friends in the Angels would tell me stuff. And I'd be like, well, that's not true because we were there. You were there, I was there. So, and I can't say that I really had a lot of time. I didn't go visit Gilbert. I mean, like I said, we'd been friends at one time. We were friends, and we were even roommates. So, um, I I think the sort of like a story got wound up, kind of like a bunch of spider webs in a way, and it just like oh, that's incongruous. Okay, let's like figure out, let's wind this together. I don't know. I'm just using a metaphor of how, because there's some conflicting facts. He was a great promoter, and surely he loved the rainbow flag. It became his whole life work. Yeah, and he, when I met him, he was just sewing. He was sewing, trying to make clothes to sell. So and so that was really good that he did that, and he put his whole effort, his whole self into it, promoting it, propagating it, getting it shown, seen over here, do that. Excellent. But I myself know that he's not the designer of it, and McNamara did an amazing job of helping. We were on the floor trying to figure out how to do this, how to put it together, how to measure it, how to do the seams, how to do that. And it came together because there were three of us doing this effort, and then we had friends there, and they're like chipping in with their efforts. But yeah, it's terrible. It was pretty terrible for me actually. Over the years, I just see half truths or not truths, you know, and over and over. And to be honest, I pretty much just was like, well, I know that's not true, but I'm working on a project, and I'm making stuff, for money, and we got to get this. I pretty much didn't really have vacations or anything. I just kept working.
I think it's important, with the people I interview and the different things I do, sometimes we forget these people are human, right? You created
Yeah.
and involved with creating one of the most recognized, probably the most recognized flag in the world, maybe besides the United States. If you think about it. But you know, does it hurt your feelings, or was it just so long ago, or it's just been happening?
No, it hurt my feelings. It's more than hurt my feelings. What really hurt my feelings is when they went stolen. And Gilbert told the story to me, and Lee was sitting in. We were in the top floor gallery, and I just was pretty much in shock. I couldn't believe somebody would do that. It was just like unimaginable. It's way more than hurt feelings,
Mhm.
you know.
How did you feel when, so fast forward to a few years ago, the flags were found or excuse me, one of them was found in Gilbert Baker's storage unit and is now at the SFGLBT Center.
Mhm.
Do you think when not only is it a flashback by the person saying they're stolen and it being in their possession, but how did you feel knowing that one was still surviving? At least one still survives.
Well, Glenn had done some work, scouting and so on, and knew that there was probably a scrap left, you know, stored some away somewhere. There's probably scrap left, and it seems that there is. I haven't got to see it, touch it, authenticate, but by the photo, I'd say yes, but I really need to see it. I need to like touch that. And yeah, did I feel bad about all that? Yeah, yeah, and and then to find out later, way later, who did steal these, and just some friends were never your friend, really.
Yeah. I think we want to give people time to ask questions, but I just want to talk about something that's interesting. It's a whole other profound conversation. But as many of us know, the LGBTQ community is expanding, and our understandings of sexuality and gender are changing over time and expanding as well. Also changing is the rainbow flag as well.
Oh,
Not
right, yes,
trans people, understanding the world changes and the younger generations change, and
yeah.
happened with your generation, happened with my generation. It's the generation gap. What do you think? Are you happy that it's expanding? What are your thoughts when you see one of those?
Flags with the brown and the
Yeah,
black or gray, brown, and some of them have pink and light blue. The trans flag just by itself, the pink, light blue, lavender. I like that one with the triangle and stuff. Just those blues and lavenders and pinks. It looks really nice. But the one with black and brown and then rainbow and then some of them have another color. I'm not even sure. It's just I don't know. It kind of brings me like I didn't it doesn't make a smile on my face. I feel like they really didn't understand the rainbow, that it's actually all the colors already. That's all the colors, and that means to me like everybody included, no matter what color you are and no matter what sexuality you embrace. That was how I felt about the rainbow. And when I see the rainbow flag, the rainbow colors, I love that. It makes me happy, or it's pretty. And the other one, yeah, they want to do that. It's it's different. That's all. It's different. Um, and it seems like to me, it felt like, oh, you don't really understand what a rainbow is.
mhm. I started this by saying that throughout the years that I've been screaming your story, I've received pushback and comment
Right.
directly from the Gilbert Baker Foundation, who we can just say told me I don't believe in the truth. Uh, put it shortly, but you mentioned you wanted to get out of this, giving context to your side of the story. What do you want to say before we go to Q&As? What do you want to say to the people who doubt your story and,
Uh,
and doubt the evidence that I've compiled as well?
uh-huh. Actually, they should go back and read your evidence because you actually do a lot of research and you interview multiple people. Like, for instance, Adrian Brooks. I know he's passed on and all that, but you interviewed him when he was dying. And I'm sure you've interviewed some of the other angels too. I mean, I just think that you have, but I can't list. And then when I look in the column, I see stuff I had never heard or people that I didn't know, but they were part of the history of LGBTQ. And it's interesting to me. And you don't just like make these stories up, you actually go after, and try to interview the people or dig through the archives, etc., research. And this is really admirable, and I really appreciate that. So I think maybe they want to believe that, you know, it was their friend Gilbert, and he's a gay man, and San Francisco and all that, but um, he's not the actual designer. He was part of it, yeah, but like I said, I lived with him. I did actually really know him, but obviously there are other things that I didn't know. You know,
What are you thinking?
he, he did really well in promoting and like keeping that going, and then getting another flag project, and they looked really good. The big polyester flags, they looked really good. Yeah, I kind of missed the two colors that were missing, and there was generally not a one with stars in the corner. I didn't really see those around, but the idea was there, the rainbow, and it's good he did that. Just some of the stuff that happened long ago. Um, eh, I don't know.
It's okay. We don't have to push it. So we'll go to a thank you so much, Lynn, for all of this. It's
You're
been
welcome. My pleasure.
the LGBT History Project will be launching a multi-part podcast series, several episodes on the hidden origins of the rainbow flag, with numerous different people being interviewed and things that I haven't put out yet because I've been saving it for this, including the interview with Adrian Brooks from the Angels of Light, who was working on various rainbow flags projects prior to his death. So really excited for that. Anyone who would like to donate to the nonprofit, you can go to lgbtqhp.org/donate. I'll put it in the chat. We have some beautiful watercolors that Lynn's made, so you can reach out to me. Numerous tie-dye clothes. So regardless of your size, we have you covered. So let's go to reach out to me direct, either in the chat or by going to lgbtqhp.org. I'll put my email there as well. But any questions? Any questions that Lynn can answer? Any context anyone would like provided? So I can keep going if we needed to.
Hey, I have to say, I like your t-shirt.
Thank you. It's one of a kind. If we get enough interest, we'll do a series. Someone asked what you think of the flag's legacy.
The legacy, well, I think that there should be a few corrections in what how it went down, what actually happened. So yeah, but I'm so glad that people love the rainbow flag. You know, just I'm just generalizing, and I do too. Love the rainbow flag and what it means for me.
Someone asked, "Can you give any contact on Glenn McEhenny was working on a rainbow flag documentary for a while, and as is typical
Yes.
in the world, there was some delays. But do you know any update about that?"
No, we all, our group here in LA is just like David's tried to get a hold of her. She used to answer him, now she doesn't. I have, Paul Langlots has, David Barber. We either send a text, an email. I've even sent little cards like, "How are you doing?" She went through a great health problems, very much health problems. And then her dad passed away, and that was like, he was the light of her life. And I felt really bad for her. I haven't seen her since the last time she was in LA doing archiving, and digging in the records and so on about the history of the rainbow flag to finish the doc. We saw the almost finished doc of it, and it was really good. I wish she'd finish it, but I don't know if she can. She had, the last time I heard, she had another health problem. So I wish she'd get in contact with one of us. John Boswell too has tried to, get in touch with her. She didn't write back to anybody.
Well, things happen. Maybe we could save the tea for another time. Someone wrote, and thank you. Someone wrote, question for Lynn. In 2008, in a 2018 interview, you referred to Gilbert Baker as drag queen-esque. Can you expand on that? Was he involved at drag the time you were living together?
Yeah, he used to like to dress in drag, but it wasn't like you're on the stage at the Angels of Light show. He just like wears togas and like almost like a skirt all the way down to his ankles. He likes to wear high heels. I used him in I did a lot of tie-dyed leotard and tights for Capizio dancewear. That was like, I think in somewhere in 78, 79, probably soon after the rainbow flags. And he was one of my models, Gilbert, in the leotards and tights. And then Christina was, Robin was, I was one of my models. I did a bunch of stuff for Capizio. So before I gave it to them, we took photos. McNamara shot the photos, and we were modeling. And he's a good model. Yeah, he's tall and thin, and he loves to put makeup on and, pose. He really does. He likes the Greek and Roman kind of flowy clothing.
When was the last time you saw Gilbert Baker?
Oh, at an LA parade, the Pride Parade in LA. It's quite a while ago. My close friends Paul Langlots and his husband Mark and I went together to the parade. They wanted to ask him questions and have the video camera running because they also knew him a long time ago. And he came by in the car in the convertible. He jumped out, he ran and gave me a big hug. He was very happy and nice to see you thing. And then Langlots brought the camera and was trying to ask him questions and with a microphone and video. And he hated that. And then he just literally ran off down the parade road, just ran away from Paul Langlots and the camera. And that was the last time I saw him.
Did you ever communicate with him behind the scenes or
He
no?
didn't contact me. He didn't contact me. But I do have one thing, and I know some people uh, have probably experienced this. When you are friends with somebody at some points in your life, maybe you're not friends now, but you were, and then they were like really important in your life, and then at the time he passed away, I didn't know he was passing away that day, but I was recovering from cancer and I was sitting up reading in bed. And on that very day, I felt he came past through me. I felt his energy, Gilbert, absolutely. Just like it's like an energy passes through your body. And then felt his thoughts. And his thought was, I've left a big mess, like a huge mess. I've left a huge mess. And I saw him just leave. So there's no way I can document this because it's something when people die, maybe you've been in the same room with somebody and when they passed and you had some kind of experience like that, or they came to you and you felt them, like you just go, oh. The next day I found out he died from Glenn. She called me and I was like, wow, he came to me yesterday. And yeah, you can believe it or not, but I had that experience. And when people pass on, there's a lot of energy that you might experience if you were in their life.
Sounds like closure to some degree. Well, okay, another question. You identify as straight, and you've said in this live stream a couple of times that rainbow flags, as you conceived it, wasn't for any particular group or sexual orientation. Did you feel left out of the narrative that grew up around the flags as a queer symbol? How do you process that?
Uh, yeah, no, I don't feel excluded at all because when I came to San Francisco, I really didn't know if I was straight or gay. And it wasn't like things were different. We were in an Angels of Light theater company. There's a lot of drag queens, there's a lot of straight women, there's straight men, there's guys and that are either male or female, you don't know. And it's just much, um, uh, it's gray. It's a gray area. It's not just cut and dried little boxes. You're this, I'm that. So I had a girlfriend and I had a boyfriend. At the time I made the rainbow flags during that time. Yeah, I had a girlfriend and a boyfriend. I didn't really say, oh, I'm this, I'm only this, oh, I'm only that. I was very inexperienced, like very inexperienced. And I think I didn't really know. I didn't really know. And the flags, the whole idea for me was it includes everybody. It's everybody is included here. And since I worked in a theater company where there was a lot of gender bending and, a lot of young people, maybe they didn't know what they are either. And so it's just like, it includes everybody. What can I say? And I was kind of young and stupid.
We're also talking about San Francisco too.
Yeah, San Francisco.
I think read this comment for Chris. I think it summed it up. I was so proud of how far reaching Lynn's creation has become and how well Gilbert Baker's marketing was. I think that's a great way to sum it up. So if we don't have any more questions, I just want to end on one final question. How do you, what advice would you give to other people about your story? What do you want people to learn from your story?
That maybe the first things they read or were promoted, maybe that history is not quite correct. Maybe you should look at it again. Just like in political history, there's things that happened in 1872 that maybe it didn't happen like that. And then later in history, they brought out how it really did happen. And so they correct the books or they change, maybe they add to the story because they found some people that were involved in that, and the story changes. The research, like you, research, look, research, dig. There's all kinds of archives at the One Archives here in LA, the One. And there's also that Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences Library of Historical Archives on La Cienega Boulevard here in LA. And it's a really great place. I'm sure you know like a bunch of other. But yeah, research and make up your own mind.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Lynn, and thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
August.
I put my email in the chat if anyone wants to reach out to me or Lynn. Hope everyone has a great Sunday. we will be in touch with you all. We are going to be releasing this podcast, so get ready to learn even more about it and reach even more people. And talk to you soon, Lynn. Bye.
Bye.